Moving on. Listen, we've got a crisis coming on, haven't we? Yes, it's the crisis of living, the cost of living. And what better to aid us through that than the government to put food prices on the rise with what? Oh, yes, those obesity taxes, those sugar taxes, all those things that are going to make such a difference to us in the middle of this crisis. Jason Reed, head of Young Voices UK. Hello.
Good evening, Nick.
Well, it's a great answer to the cost of living crisis, isn't it? They impose a policy that I think is personally very questionable to challenge obesity and taxes for it just to put the cost of things up. Yeah?
It's absolutely incredible that we have reached a point where even with a cost of living crisis, even with all these headlines about how much struggling households are going to be struggling even more than usual because of inflation, because of energy bills, because of food prices going up, that we still have the government pushing this nanny state approach to obesity, which just involves making our shopping bills a little bit higher and not making anyone any slimmer. This latest iteration comes in the Health and Care Bill, in which all kinds of new rules are going to be introduced. Some of the most eye-catching ones are about banning promotional offers on foods the government has decided is unhealthy, so buy one, get one free.
Bog off, they're called, aren't they?
Exactly, yes.
Right, let me ask you though, Jason, we do have a huge obesity crisis here. We got people not looking after themselves. They will blame the food manufacturers. The government are constantly telling us to do something about it. The Libertarian Johnson has gone. He's imposing taxes. They have to do something, don't they? Because it's costing the NHS a lot of money, this obesity crisis.
There's plenty that you can do without making life more expensive and more difficult for people. There have been some really interesting innovations in this area. There was a while ago when Tesco removed chocolates and sweets from their checkouts. That had a huge impact on the number of sales of chocolates and sweets, just because people weren't making those impulse purchases at the last minute. There have been some more.
Well, I'll give you another one, just to show off as well, since you know so much. McDonald's moved the Coke Zero to the easiest place on the screen, and people started buying Coke Zero instead of the one with heavy sugar. Brilliant.
There you go. We can. The thing is that we don't need the state, as you say, to intervene like this. We don't need a big flashing neon label on a chocolate bar to tell us that it has sugar in it. We're all capable of discerning what's healthy and what's unhealthy. And if we choose to buy unhealthy food, we should have the right to do that. In many cases, in the context of the cost of living crisis, families with their weekly shopping bills often make unhealthy choices because it's necessary for cost reasons. And so that's why it's so absurd that when you're banning these promotional offers, which by the way, a lot of people rely on to make ends meet, you're then going to be increasing people's shopping bills because the essential food that they need now costs more than it did.
Do you know I know you've written a very good article about this in CapEx. Do you know by how much we could say that the government's anti-obesity measures are going to cost the household shopping bill?
Well, there was a study from the Food and Drink Federation into specifically this latest policy of banning 3 for 2 and buy one, get one free and things in shops. And it estimates that alone, without any of the other regulations, will add an extra £160 every year to your shopping bills. That works out about £15 a month, which isn't going to break the bank on its own. But when you consider that that's part of a much broader cost of living crisis.
Just add the tax rises we're all going to get hammered with on national insurance, you know. I mean, it is, everyone says individually these don't amount. The tax rise for someone on an average income, I think, is going to cost about £110, something like that. Well, we're already at £270 with just those two things because most households will buy some of these goods. Tell me, you and I both know these taxes are coming in. Isn't it the fact of the matter now, we are in the era of state intervention? Isn't it as simple as that?
I'm afraid the Conservative Party has been in government for so long that it's forgotten what conservatism is. It's forgotten what it stands for. And so I think a good start would be the Prime Minister stepping aside and allowing someone else with some more principles to take the lead. It might be blasphemous. I'm a Tory member, but I think perhaps we need a little period in opposition to reconsider what we stand for and what we believe in, because it was only 2 years ago, well, 2.5 years ago, when Boris Johnson was campaigning for the leadership of the Tory party, that he was talking about rolling back the continuing creep.
Well, he's now talking about it again, of course, with his new Chief of Staff and Partygate behind him. Are you not optimistic?
Not terribly, no. It seems pretty clear that everything Boris Johnson has done lately was for PR reasons, which, sure, it's a good thing that some of the culture is going to change, perhaps, but I'm not optimistic that the policy direction is going to change.
Jason, clearly work to do on you to keep you back or get you back on board the Boris Johnson camp. That's Jason Reed, head of Young Voices UK. And of course,